Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to another episode of the Shuwatch podcast, episode 46. Yes, it has been quite a while since our last episode, but of course, much like last time, I've got another project and another friend with me today that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. Here with me is a familiar face to the channel in recent years. You have certainly seen her in several videos, be it about Evangelion, Garo, all sorts of live streams that we have talked about and discussed in the past. Give it up for my wonderful friend, someone who I'm really excited to talk about with this new project of ours. Give it up for Miss Laura Fitkin.
Hello, and it's Mrs.
Oh, yes, Mrs. That's right. Mrs. Yes. Laura Fitkin.
I am married to my husband, yes.
Who has also been on this channel multiple times in the past. But this time, we do not have Nick. We have a Nickless Laura this evening.
I feel so empty without my husband beside me. But yes, no, it is just I. It is I, Laura Fitkin. I'm here to shill my book upon you. And you can listen to it and love it. Oh,
absolutely. You have learned the ways of the shillster, the ways of the shiller, the ways of shill common writer himself.
Yes. Oh.
So to get things started, to get the ball rolling, how about we just kind of go straight, kind of to the beginning and talk about how we first met, because it's kind of a very amusing story the more times we look back on it as the years have gone on.
Yes.
Let's do time warp again.
Yes.
So
it was weird.
Yeah, so this all started by the fact that we technically met in person at, I believe it was G-Fest 2019. Prior to that, you had met with Matt Burkett 1 year prior, I believe, in 2018, right?
Yeah.
And so
2018 was my first G-Fest.
Right. And you had already been a fan of Matt Burkett's content on the Monstrosities YouTube channel, correct?
Not really.
Or was it you found his G-Fest videos prior?
Yeah. So the whole thing with the G-Fest was my husband surprised me with, he was we were trying to figure out conventions because we really liked going to all these different Comic-Con, and because we lived in Las Vegas, so every weekend there was a different convention, and so we kind of fell in love with this whole we can go and be around all of these people that like the same thing. And then we figured out that there was a Godzilla convention that had been well established as G-Fest. Anybody who's gone to G-Fest is that's the Godzilla convention.
It's the Godzilla convention.
Yeah, but we didn't know that, and so my husband had found that, and he's just so as a surprise, he was just I bought tickets to this, where I'm going to take you to this thing that you have forced me into loving.
Because unlike a lot of couples you tend to go to G-Fest, you were the Godzilla fan, not Nick, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the interesting thing. We're anytime we went to a booth, people talked to him, and he was just you don't understand. I am the accessory here. I am the addition. So it's just because I've loved Godzilla since I was 7, and I remember when I first met him, the fact that he had known, he's oh yeah, I've seen Godzilla versus Megalon. I like that. I was just okay, this is it. I'm gonna force you to like this. But yeah, so his gift to me 1 year was I will take you to G-Fest, because this is the ultimate Godzilla convention. So that would have been 2018, and I was just I really like to cosplay, so I'm I'll go into this. But my main research, which is my main research for anything, was just I'm sure there's some YouTube videos about people who go to G-Fest. And so the main one that came up was Matt's, when he was going around. I'm oh, gives me a good idea. So I saw this face and kind of associated that. And so when I saw that face at the G-Fest that I went to, I'm oh, that's the dude that I watched the videos of. And it's just and I think we were trying to figure this out before. When was the G-Fest that you weren't there?
That was that was 2018. So that was 2018 was the year I was not there. And at that time, let's see, and you said you went to G-Fest 2018.
Yes.
So around that time, those were definitely, I'm still wondering, so you met him in 2018, and then you saw him again.
Go ahead. I will say my I will say I'm very vain. So I was in cosplay
Yes.
in 2018. And then after I went home, I was like, I wonder if people have videos
Oh,
of
yes.
Geek
Okay.
Fest.
Yeah. That's how the
And I was just
timeline
like,
worked.
and so then I was just like, I wonder if people were like, it sounds so vain and such a whole thing. We were like, I wonder, like,
Oh, but hey, you
I
put a
wonder if
lot of
people have
effort into that cosplay.
did. And then I will say there was a lot of people who were like, there's this person. And I was just like, hey, that's me. And so like that was a cool high to be like, oh yeah. So I had looked through all these videos and I thought it was so funny that I had watched your video and you're not even in it.
Right. So to give some context for people from 2018 is now going to be 7 years ago. Jesus Christ.
Oh God, no. Shh. Your face.
Time waits.
I still have that costume in my basement. That's so sad.
Time waits for no person, Laura. So 2018 was the 1 year I did not go for personal reasons. So back in the day, I used to go to G-Fest and we would do, my friends and I would goof around and do a lot of vlogs where we would sit around on the same, in our hotel room, just recapping. Sitting on the edge of the bed, making sure sitting in front of the camera, recording just basically us sharing our thoughts on G-Fest each day, whether it be on video or we do a podcast. I think, what was it? We did a podcast on the road. We call it the road trip to G-Fest, the SOS road trip to G-Fest, where first episode would be we would do a podcast while literally on the road to G-Fest, because we would meet up in New York and drive all the way to Chicago. And then in later years, we would just, we do the road trip to G-Fest, and then we do a couple of vlogs on like day 1, day 2, day 3, and then day 4, we would wait a week afterwards and then just do a post G-Fest wrap-up podcast, just talking about our experiences and our overall thoughts on that year's event. 2018, I did not go, so instead my friends just made a series of videos for my channel where I'm missing, and it was a skit. It was a bunch of skits where I'm missing.
They're trying to find you.
They're trying to find me. Yeah, they were worried, and they're like, oh, what do we do? Where's Andres? Where's Andres? And then they ultimately get into a fight and ultimately just like stumble upon me by accident, doing nothing at all, putting no effort to actually finding me. It was just mainly kind of like the Channel Awesome anniversaries where they would do skits interacting with each other. What's that?
I said it was entertaining.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm really glad. It was mainly like we were just doing this to amuse ourselves more than anything. Yeah.
And that's what makes it entertaining.
You
for yourself and not other people.
Oh, for sure. And it's so funny that like you are looking to know what G-Fest is. Here's a G-Fest, technically G-Fest loosely G-Fest related video.
I was looking for videos of myself at
yes.
this point.
Okay, yeah. And here you had something that was like the complete, like had nothing to do with the actual convention. It's just
and it was funny because it was just like, who are these 3 dudes? And it was not even you. And I was just like,
yes.
I watched one of your videos and you're not even in it.
Right. So it makes it all the more hilarious where next year, 2019, the year that I did go to G-Fest, I did get to hang out with Matt Burkett for the first time in person. Where it really solidified our friendship, which had just barely started online. And so while we were all sitting at a round table, just like eating whatever, food.
You guys were like under the stairs, like in a corner.
I remember that. Yeah. Because we prefer to be like out away from everyone to have that little privacy.
I barely noticed it was Matt, but like I remember walking down the stairs, like leaving the bar, and I was like, wait, that's Matt. That's the dude I watched on the video. And then like I think I felt weird because I like tapped him on the shoulder and I'm like, I just touched a random person. Like that feels weird. And then he was like, oh, I'll take your picture. And then it was just so funny to think that you're like, it was like you and then Zimzilla and I think Swell was there and like a couple other people were just like, these are the people I would have loved. Like these are the people that I've like met later. And it's just like, oh, I was right there.
Yes.
But no, I was more just like, I just touched this random man and I should not have done that. And it's just like, oh my God.
But then like
I was dressed as Batra and my husband was dressed as Mothra Man. And it's just a weird life that I live. It's just weird.
Yeah. And then like, you so this was your 2019 when you stumbled upon our table. That was our that was your second interaction, in-person interaction with Matt.
Yes.
Okay. And so after that point, 2020 happened. The world came to an end temporarily. And
dogs and cats living together.
Mass hysteria. And so during that time, Matt Burkett started the After Dark live streams, and where he would bring on a bunch of his friends, and we just, shoot the shit, talking about current events, pop culture stuff, and just, let chaos reign. And that's where we properly originally met each other.
We were 6 feet away from each other.
Yes, we went from 6 feet away from each other to being 6,000 feet away from each other.
Yes.
Because I was still living in Japan at that time.
It was the ultimate social distancing.
Absolutely. I'm still the number one American social distance heavyweight champion of the world. And so it was around this time that we really got along with each other, and it just so happened that our work schedules happened to align with each other, because you worked the night shift at your old job. I was working in the daytime in Japan. So whenever all the rest of my American friends were asleep,
they were sleeping.
Yeah. But you were still awake. So we texted each other through Facebook Messenger constantly, just getting to know each other, just having fun, just talking about stuff that we mutually enjoyed. And
I always refer to you as my work husband, even though we were not married, nor that we worked together. I'm just he's my work husband.
I just took it was like a shift. I took over from Nick.
Yeah, exactly. There was a couple passing of the torches that I'm just I almost told this man that I'm not married to that. I will never forget that as much, because for the people listening, I always message Andres through Facebook Messenger, and I always text my husband. But the thing that was always confusing is when I was getting off work, it was because I worked 7 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning, and then my husband worked from 7:30. So there would be times where I'd be messaging him when he was waking up, and then there'd be times where I'd be messaging Andres when he was going to work as well, because it was the same time. And I was so close to messaging Andres, be I love you, have fun at work, and I'm just that's not the one I wanted to do. No.
Imagine, it's those are the two streams you don't want to cross.
Yeah, I was just no. It's just oh, and then especially it was so frustrating because during the pandemic, I felt like I lived with a ghost because I never got to see my husband, and it was so frustrating because he worked during the day, and it was just I would come home and there'd be stuff in different places, and it's just because he lived there, and it's just can you move stuff around? But it was a hard time to not be able to talk to him, and then it was nice to have somebody to talk to. That wasn't people at work, where it's just all of us.
I want to be where the people are.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just it was a nice thing to hear about all the things that you had to deal with.
Yeah,
all the things going on, where it's just it was different than hearing all the things that Nick had to deal with, my husband, or all the people I work with. Were just and then I found that you hadn't seen the shadow, and I was just what the fuck?
Which that kind of interaction still happens to this very day. It's what do you mean you haven't seen Tremors?
Oh my god, I can't. I feel like Norman England, where I'm just I can't believe you had not seen Tremors. I cannot believe you had not seen The Shadow.
I can't believe you have not seen Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Oh god, that's right. You hadn't seen how. So, I feel like you haven't lived.
That's true. That's true. And what was it? But yeah, it was really funny that you mentioned before how your coworkers would think that in the middle of the night you're talking to your husband, because naturally, who else would you be talking to at the middle of the night?
Yeah. And there would be a couple times I would be messaging Nick, but it was just I felt bad because he would wake up. He was very good. He would wake up and message me, but I'm just it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't need to be doing this. You have to work. And he was a mailman during that time, and that was not fun.
Oh no, yeah. And it's I remember apologizing to Nick. It's Nick, I hope this is okay. Please don't hurt me.
We're gonna be in a group message now. It's fine. But yeah, that was a weird thing. Where it's just how it's.
But then go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it was a weird time because there was people complaining about how they weren't working, and so as somebody who was working too much, you felt I felt like I couldn't complain about that, where it's just I can't complain about working too much because everybody here is oh, I don't the shutdown makes it so I can't work, but it's just I want to go home. I want to see my husband. I saw my husband enough.
Like for
But it
2
was just,
minutes.
yeah, it's like there would be like weeks where I wouldn't see him, and it's just like I felt like we lived in the same home, and like he would. Yeah, it was such a weird time where just like I would like to complain about the complete opposite that the world is complaining about, but I can't, and so I have to like suffer and be shelled up at night, and then like, oh, my friend lives in Japan. I should just message.
I should harass him.
I should. And then that is another thing where it's like I felt like the ultimate bitch where like our first interaction was like, hey, your comic doesn't work. Like,
I was like, I'm sorry, what?
You're like, that's not how coats work. And you're like, I don't draw it. I was just like, yeah, but like that's not a double-breasted jacket. And you're like, a double what? And I was just like, yeah, but like that's not.
Oh yeah, that's when I that was at that point I realized 2 things about you. 1, you know your fashion, and 2, you cared more than anyone else about my comic in a way, or you cared about the finer details of my comic in a way no one else had, which meant to me that you cared enough about my work to want to directly ask about stuff.
I just didn't want to shit on you. I wanted.
Oh no! I didn't take it at all that way. I was.
No, I know. That's what I appreciated. We're just like I could be like, this is stupid. You're like, no, that's not.
I would say like, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'll talk to you later. But it's just like, you know, this doesn't work, right? Like I wanted better for you. I wanted you to understand that that's not how goats work.
That's very true, and I do keep that in mind in the future.
Yes. I have been asked about my fish.
So, like, you know, like you were incredibly supportive of my work and continue to be to this very day. And so, yeah, we really grew very appreciative of, you know, your friendship, your support, the wonderful, you know, like memories that like you, Nick, and I have all had in a very short amount of time. I remember we really bonded over the library of work of Keita Amamiya, where it all started out with you guys wanting to get into Kamen, or I'm not sure if you guys wanted to get into Kamen Rider or me introducing Kamen Rider to you guys. Where we started out with Kamen Rider Zeto and Jay, and later Shin. Obviously, I saved the lesser of the films for last, but
which I appreciate because oh god, that was painful.
Which is funny because you were complaining. It's like, oh, why didn't we watch the first one that was made first? And I was like, because I didn't want to give you a bad first impression.
Yeah.
But
I always think it's funny because it's like there was that one, and then it was like. I feel like TitanGoji Davis had like the shirt that was the Garo.
Like,
I always remember being like, what mech is that? Because like all of his like Teespring shirts were like mech things. And you're like, oh no, it's this one. And it's the same as like this Kamen Rider thing. We're like, oh, let's watch that. And then I was like, after watching Zeto and Jay, I was like, we should watch this Garo thing. And I was just like, oh god, this is like the most amazing thing that's ever been. Like,
the greatest thing ever.
Like, this is beautiful.
And we ended up doing, like, you, Nick, and I ended up doing the Garo review together. And prior to that, your first appearance on the channel, I believe, was the Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time review with Yoko Higuchi. And then since then, we did the Gundam Origin review together. And, you know, obviously there was all the live streams and live commentaries we've done, including recently Batman Returns this past Christmas. But yeah, we ended up going.
It's weird to be like, I did, like, people cared about my Gundam opinions. So like, no, they didn't.
Hey, I cared.
I know. More my Garo one, like it's. Garo is so good. We need to make a Garo podcast.
Yes, absolutely. For sure. You know, and for anyone listening, all 5 of you who still follow this channel of mine, first of all, I greatly appreciate you. And for anyone else, out there, let us know. Would you like to see a podcast of us just going over one, like, episode by episode breakdowns of each episode of the original Garo? Because I feel like that would be a lot of a great time.
Oh, so bad. It's like any excuse to watch more Garo. Because we watched them today, and I'm just like, this show was so good.
Yeah, oh yeah, Garo franchise is still going strong today. And not only that, just Keita Mamiya himself as a creator, as a director, his body of work is like unlike anything I have ever seen. To the point where I try to get people inducted into the Church of Amamiya. It's like
it was interesting that like I feel like before Garo, I felt like our only connection was like Godzilla, and it's just like I do still love Godzilla, and that's something that like is intrinsic to my being, but like I never thought I would be like, I guess this will be out when we already announced that we're like working on some Kamen Rider stuff, but it's just like I never thought I would be into that side of the tokusatsu, but it just like I feel like the Godzilla transferred me into the Garo, and it's just like I don't know. The Garo is so much better.
I feel like great. I feel like it's mainly because like we grew up with Godzilla our entire lives. We know all that there is to know about Godzilla for the most part. We've seen all the movies 100 times each. But like Garo, Kamen Rider, these are things, or Zeram, Hokkaider, these are all things that are still relatively new and fresh to us. It's a whole new world to explore.
But in the same vein, and that like makes it exciting. Like it's like the gateway of like, oh yeah, like if you liked Power Rangers as a child and you feel like you're an adult, like Garo is the thing for you.
Yeah, don't watch the newer stuff like, I don't know, Ninja Steel or Dino Fury. Just watch Garo.
Yeah, like if you want to like transition into like I love Power Rangers. It's very black and white. Like this is the bad person, this is the good person. But if you want to be like an adult and transition to like the gray area of things, like I feel like that is like the antithesis of Garo, where it's just like it is just exploiting like, well, like isn't not okay to like steal to eat? It's just like, well, everyone needs to eat, and it's like I feel like that's what Garo is. It's like it's the gateway into like, is this wrong? It's like, yeah, it is, but yeah.
But it's also complicated.
Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, like complications. Like, I understand that it is comfortable to deal in black and white. Like, I feel like that's why, like, a lot of Power Rangers nostalgia falls back onto that, where it's good to know that, like, this lady's bad and she's sending the monsters, then the monsters are bad. But it's like sometimes the monsters are just trying to live. So yeah, that's what, I don't know. Garo is gray and Garo is great. And Garo is gold. Yes, and it's gold and 24 karat Garo. But yeah, it's just I feel like that we did bond a lot over that, because essentially like right after we had moved from because we moved from Las Vegas to Iowa, just like we watched so much Garo. I remember, what was it? We watched all of the season of Garo within like 3 days, and I think I remember is when you still lived in Japan, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna wake up at this time, and like, well, that's like 4:00 in the morning for me, but I'm like, I want to watch the next episode, so I will be there. Yeah,
we're just binging the shit out of Garo back then, because I had a lot of free time, like while I was still in Japan, which continued to make match things up well. But yeah, I guess like to transition into things, because, talking about Godzilla a bit, I want to know, like, how did you originally get into Godzilla? How did you get involved in the Godzilla community, be it online or at the conventions that you mentioned prior?
Yeah, so I guess it's going to sound so old, but I remember back in the day where we had to go to like the rental store to like get these movies. And I remember my brother got some of the Godzilla movie ones like as a joke, and he's like, I bet you'll like this, and I'm like, and I really did. And so then it turned into a thing where like if anybody wanted me to do anything, be like, we'll rent you a Godzilla movie if you do this. Be like, okay, I'll be there, I'll do this. And so like I one of the stupidest things I remember is like I grew up on a farm, so we had to it's essentially you have to go through a bean field and get rid of the corn, because you have to rotate your crops. So like the year before there would be corn, and then that year there'd be beans, but every once in a while there'd be some corn that popped up. So my brother paid me in Godzilla movies if I went through the bean field and got rid of the corn like that had popped up, and I forgot what it was called. But yeah, I just remember he you paid me in that. Like that was my currency. Or it's like other people be like, hey, I'll give you $5. This is like, hey, we'll go to Jim's Video, we'll rent you this movie. I'd be like, okay, I'll like go through with the hose and get rid of all of the corn that's sprung up during the beans. Yeah, it was a lot of my brother who was just like, yeah, this is stupid. I'm like, yes, it is, but it's great. And I love it now. So yeah, I remember that was a thing where it's just like, I was just automatically attached to it. And then the other thing I always remember is, I always feel so bad for my mom's mom. When I had I'm sure people get vaccinated for the chickenpox, so they don't have to worry about it. Like my son doesn't have to worry about having the chickenpox. Did you have the chickenpox?
Oh no, I was vaccinated as well. I got all my shots.
Yeah, that must have been like 2 years after I had it. But yeah, so I had the actual chickenpox, which was like I was sick for like 2 weeks, and so I always remember like my grandma Fitkin took care of me for one day, and then my grandma Nevertell, which is my mom's mom, she came and she took care of me for like the rest of the time. And then my dad had bought me this like dual VHS, which was like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and I think Godzilla versus Megalon. And that poor woman had to watch Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla so many times because like that's all I watched for like 2 weeks. Because I just remember like King Caesar came out, and then the lady sang, and like that whole like that poor woman had to listen to all of that. But it's like that duology tape got me through like having the chickenpox and just like watching those two movies over and over again. And just like that, yeah.
And since then, sorry to interrupt you, I was gonna say, and since then, Mechagodzilla 74 is still to this day your favorite all-time favorite Godzilla movie.
Oh yes, I love every time I hear that prayer, every time I watch that monster come out, like I love like King Caesar is my favorite thing. Like that is just. I still remember getting like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 and like thinking it was the other movie, and then like he didn't show up, and I'm just like, what? Or like I think I even got like, oh yeah, because like I was like, what is this Titanosaurus? Like I don't like Titanosaurus.
And that's ironic because that's my favorite kaiju after Godzilla.
I don't like him just because he's not King Caesar, and I just think it's so funny that it is your favorite one. But I'm just like, wait a minute, this isn't mine. But yeah, I love like King Caesar is like my goat. He's my greatest of all time. Like I just love that.
You even named your dog after him.
Yes,
Shisa.
Miss Shisa is named after that. Like my dog and my son are named after like Godzilla things, which is a pretty telling thing. But yeah.
And then there's Dobby.
Yeah. We can't not name him Dobby. He looked like Dobby. He just looks like he's like, you gave me a sock. It's just like, yes, buddy, we gave you like we took you from Moon Pie to Dobby because that was the name he came with was Moon Pie.
Aw.
And I'm like, the thing that you don't realize is when you get a dog and you name it, you don't realize the whole thing. You're just gonna be like yelling that name, like our first dog is named Moo Moo, and we're like, oh, that's so cute. Her name is Moo Moo, but like I have to be like, Moo Moo, get back inside. Moo Moo,
Dobby, no.
Yeah, Dobby, no.
I just remember you shared like a video of like Dobby running out into the snow. Dobby, no.
No. Yeah. Oh. It's very telling that like my son's first words were Dobby and Shisa. It's because we yell at those two dogs the most. Like his first words were like, oh, like I wish I could say it'd be like it's Mama or Dada, but like no, it was Dobby because we yell at that dog so much.
It's like, oh, this name must mean something very important.
Yeah, like, Dobby, and it's like Shisa. Yeah, like those are the two things like he knows. He's like, I know Dobby and Shisa.
It's like already half of his language, his spoken language is Japanese.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. And then it's funny because he doesn't even know like our dog Moo Moo, who I always joke about. We don't have to yell at her because she's like the best dog ever, and so he doesn't know her name.
Aww.
He just looks at her and he's just like.
And that one.
Yeah, because it's like she's like she's the epitome of the best dog ever. She just like lays there, and we're like, we always joke about the other two dogs, be like, why can't you be like Moo Moo? Like, she's the one. Like our dog Moo Moo was so good that she like tricked us into getting 2 other dogs that then tricked
Aw.
us into having a kid. We're just like, she's such a good dog. We're like, we could do this. And we're like, when we got Dobby, we're like, yeah, this is a little weird. We'll get Shisa. We're like, oh, this is fine. It's like, we have 3 dogs. We could have a kid. We could do this.
And so like going from like from Godzilla, growing up with Godzilla throughout your childhood, I asked like how did you get involved with the fandom, or if you ever got involved with the fandom, especially prior to your transition into cosplay and eventually review roulette.
Oh. I guess it would just be the cosplay, because I remember when Nick told me, he was like, I'm gonna like bring you to G-Fest, like that's your present. I was like, I was just looking into the cosplay stuff. I'm like, that's really fun. Like I have really bad ADHD, so like the worst thing for that is just like, I need a new hobby. Like I need a new hyperfixation, and like cosplay was super popular then. And one of the things about like living in Las Vegas is like, that's the mecca for conventions. Like we could have, I think there was a time where about like 2018 and 2019, we could have went to some sort of like Comic-Con or some sort of like nerd related collecting convention like every weekend. We did do that quite a bit. So that was kind of fun to be like, I could make another cosplay for this. But it's just like for G-Fest, I'm like, I really like King Caesar. I had this idea for this like Playboy Bunny King Caesar crossover. That would be really fun to do. And this is like the only time I'm ever going to do it. So I'm going to like go all out and do this. And so that was what I decided. So I worked really hard on this. Like I tried really hard to get like the ears to flap up, and like there are things that I've never made before. And so I would say like going to that G-Fest in 2018 was an amazing, like everybody's first G-Fest is probably like the most amazing thing. Because you're like, people like the same things. This is great. The second one is a little bit different because you're like, oh yeah, it's the same thing. But like I would like, it's probably the equivalent to like drugs, as someone who's never done drugs, where it's just like this first time is great. Like 2018 was fun. Like I met all of these cool people. I did all of these things where it's just like people were like, oh, this like, if I would have went to like the Las Vegas Comic-Con, like, no one would have known who I was. But like if I went to the G-Fest one and be like, oh my god, you're King Caesar, it's like, I am. Like, you know,
you're the Queen Caesar woman.
Yes, like yeah, I like. It was so funny going to. So we went to 2018, and then the next year we went to 2019. We had to go to the cosplay
parade, fashion show.
You have to go to like to sign up to be in the parade. You have to go to like this meeting. And then, so they had this thing where they were talking about like the different levels of like how you have to sign up. And I remember like thinking it was so funny because they had put mine as like intermediate, as in like, you have to have at least won something and done so many cosplay things. I'm like, this was the first time I ever showed up in a cosplay. And they're like using me as an example as like, this is what it looks like to do this. I'm like, that's not the things that I did. Like, but anyway, yeah, it was so. I would say your first G-Fest, if you're a Godzilla fan, is like crack. We're just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like all these people like the same thing. All these people are like want to take a picture with you. All these people that you like looked up to are like, oh my god, this is great. It was just like, and then you're like seeing all these people from the movies, like Don Fry was there, Megumi Adaka was there. And it was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then your second one was just like, oh yeah, this is kind of the same thing.
You know, if it's too bad that Amamiya has never worked on a Godzilla project. Otherwise, I would love for him to be a guest.
Yeah, Mikazuki is like the closest we got.
That's true. Now. And I can't remember if the GMK suit actor has been to G-Fest before, because he has been to several Days of the Dead / All Monsters Attack, and he has been in Mikazuki and Zeram. And Cyber Ninja, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he was the Ram, isn't he?
He was the white villain, the white colored tentacled hair villain.
Oh, and that's
yeah, because like oh no, that's okay. The one the action director in Japan who worked on several Garo projects and was a stunt actor on Power Rangers. I believe he was Cyber Ninja himself in that movie.
Right.
Yeah. He also worked on Amamiya stuff before and after Power Rangers. Makoto Yokoyama.
I think that's the interesting thing with like Amamiya. It's like you can tell he must be like a really nice person to work with because like all these people want to work with him again. Or I feel like it's like it's fine. Like
and so like go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying there's just so many like American directors where it's just like people want to like keep working with them, or just like David Lynch, like before he passed away, it's just like all these people were like, yeah, he's really good to work with. Or just like I feel like Amamiya was like the David Lynch of Japanese things, where it's just like I want to do that. Like I'll work with you. I'll do whatever you want.
So like outside of the conventions, did you ever have any other interactions with other Godzilla fans on, like, especially online? Because I know like you hear stories about people who used to be on forums or Toho Kingdom or Sci-Fi Japan. Did you ever have any other online interactions prior to your appearance on the Monstrosities channel?
No, and I think that probably helped a lot of stuff. Where it's just like I don't like Godzilla was a big part of my life, and I felt like it's a weird thing because I'm a little bit older than probably most of the Godzilla fans, where it's just like it was a very like insular thing where it's just like I think there was a long point in time where I only thought there was like 5 movies because I only had access to those, and it's just like every time you found out there was a new movie, you're like, oh, that's great. Like I envy the people now who are like fully aware of the entire
they got like Wikipedia, like got Wikizilla at their fingertips.
Yeah, I was just like, I didn't have that. Like I had like I had like the 5 ones that were at Gym Video, and then I remember going to a garage sale. I always feel so bad for my mother because it's like I remember there was a garage sale that had Godzilla versus Destroya. I had never seen it, and I just distinctly remember sitting in like this room that I was watching it in our house, and my mom was like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "He's dead. Like Godzilla had just died, and I was just like, I think I was like 12 or 13, and it was just like my poor mother was trying to like help me get over the grief of this fictional character that was dead, and she had better things to be doing at that point. But like obviously her child was upset, so it's just like I always just remember her being like, it's okay, and just like she had no idea how to make me feel better.
I guess now you have the experience for whenever your son eventually goes through that same process.
You're like, get there. I'm just like, I just remember her being like, what's wrong? And be like, he just died. And it's just like, I still have the tape. Like, I still have the Godzilla versus Destroyer tape. And I just remember sitting there being like, I was just like overwhelmed because I didn't think he could die. And it just like he did. And then I find out later he dies multiple times.
Yeah, and it's really funny because, like, given that in Japan, the literal tagline on the poster and movie trailers was "Godzilla dies,"
and I had no idea about
Godzilla fucking dies.
Yeah, and I had never. So that was before '98, and that was before. And I had like I always get kind of like jealous of people who are like, the best Godzilla movie is like 54, where it's just like. I hadn't watched 54 yet. That was like a movie that I watched like way later, where everyone's like, it's the best movie. It's just like, I really like the one where the dog monster comes out of the cliff and fights the mecha version. But yeah,
damn right. I mean, this is coming from someone whose favorite Godzilla movie ever is Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. It's like I love the psychic woman who believes she's from the planet Venus, coming up with this. There's the mystery of her connection to the princess that she looks like. There's the assassins trying to murder her, and meanwhile you got the buildup of Ghidorah. It's like I love the imagination that goes into plots like Ghidorah or Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, or
and
even
go ahead.
The like Godzilla versus Ghidorah, were like the time travel.
Oh, time travelers!
Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating to be a Godzilla fan and be like, you're supposed to like 50, like 45 or whatever. It's just like, or 84. You're supposed to like 45 and 84. It's just like, no, like, I like when he fights other monsters.
Yeah.
And like, I do understand when like fans complain about that, where it's just like, I know with -1, people are like, he doesn't fight anything. Or it's just like, I can understand that, but like, you have to work for that. You can't, it's not legendary. You can't just get the thing. You can't just you gotta work for the thing. You have to go to garage sales and get VHS tapes and being like, watch them. Like, that's what you have to do.
You gotta work for your monster battles. You can't just get them handed to you willy-nilly. These kids these days with their Shimos and their Dougs.
Oh, that's another thing that I felt like such a horrible Godzilla fan because I did not watch the like most recent Godzilla one. I just had you recount it.
Oh yeah, Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm good because after Godzilla versus Kong, I'm just like, I'm not here for this. Like,
that's totally fine. You don't have to like everything. It's like there's certain Godzilla fans that are like, oh, if you don't like the newest thing out, then you're not a true fan. If you don't support the newest thing, you're not a real fan to begin with.
Oh, those people haven't watched Monarch, and those people are stupid.
Or no, they'll worship the ground of Monarch because it's Godzilla, and anything Godzilla has to be gold.
It makes sense.
So, anyways, moving forward, aside from cosplay, you've also contributed with your own content in the past with the Review Roulette podcast. Yes. And I remember I was invited. So let's see, I believe, what was it? Because I remember it was Matt Denning and I. We were both invited to one episode.
Mm-hmm.
What
we did
episode?
The special. We watched Godzilla versus. We watched 74.
Oh yes, that's right. We did do 74. Yeah.
It was every once in a while. So we either had our content was like divided into like, it was the let's watch a random movie with random people.
Yes.
Which was fun for a little while. And then every once in a while I was like, I really like Godzilla. So then it was let's watch a random Godzilla movie with kind of random people. And so you guys were very fortunate that it was 74 that we picked. And I was very excited.
Yeah, your favorites.
Yes. Oh God, I love that movie so much.
Your favorite Godzilla movie with your favorite people.
Exactly. Oh God, until he recommended fucking
Big Man Japan.
Oh, it hurt me so much to think about that.
But hey, at least hopefully Dark Man, my recommendation,
Man,
balance things out.
Canceled out. No, I don't know. I still have like phantom pains over like Big Man Japan. Like I was so upset with Matt.
Sometimes I wonder if Big Man Japan is like the kaiju version of the Greasy Strangler, where it's just random, really bizarre, intentionally bizarre random stuff that was made because that's what the filmmakers were into.
I will say Greasy Strangler is faster paced.
That is true.
Like I don't know. I will never forget. Like, so the whole concept of the show was like, I'm gonna bring guests on, and we're people that I have not met or maybe kind of met, and then we're gonna pick a random movie because it was during the pandemic, and I'm like, I have this like social desire to hang out with people and watch a movie, and so we had watched Godzilla. We had this wonderful experience of watching Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 74. And then you had suggested Darkman, which we did watch. Oh, that's weird. It is interesting to think that like both of those movies were picked. And then so we watched Darkman.
I forgot who did
it was Rainy both times.
Oh, okay. So you watched Darkman with Rainy.
It was so Darkman was Rainy and my sister.
Okay.
And then Big Man in Japan was Rainy and what was his name?
It was another Australian dude.
Yeah, and I felt so bad because essentially I had another guest lined up.
Yes.
And this other person, so they were like this God, I wish I could remember his name. It was Crabtails. He was a very nice man. And I appreciated him coming on, but it was one of those things where it's like I had him and then another guest who was from America. So we had aligned the times, like time zone wise.
Yes.
Where like the person from Australia he was like, I'll wake up extra early because I understand that I'm from Australia, and like the time zones don't really work out. So I'll wake up now because that's not something I'm really used to doing.
Yeah.
So then the person from America was just like, hey, I know it's like a couple hours from now. I'm just going to drop out. I have this other thing that I knew about from a ways away. And like, I'm sorry, I'm going to do this. And I was just like, my go-to backup was Rainy because she was like the greatest person ever. And I was just like, hey, can you come on? Because I know this is kind of the same time. Because she was from Australia, but she was also 4 hours different from him. So it wouldn't be as bad for her to wake up.
Yeah.
But I felt so bad because essentially I made this poor man wake up super early to have this other guest on from Australia.
For Big Man Japan.
Yeah. Well, the worst thing was, so we did the episode and we were like, we did the wheel and we picked, and it was Inglourious Bastards. And Inglourious Bastards is like 2.5 hours long.
Yes.
And so Rainey had to record an episode with Matt Burkett about Singular Point because it was during that like Singular Point, like everybody's on board.
Oh, yeah. 2021, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, that's kind of long, so like let's do this again. So we did it again, and then it came up with Big Man Japan, which was shorter. But I was just like, we could have watched Inglourious Bastards, and I would not have felt anywhere as bad. But yeah, oh my god, Big Man Japan was horrible. I feel like now that I think back at it, I think I would have enjoyed Big Man in Japan if I was not like felt horribly guilty for making this poor man like wake up.
Yeah. So
early.
It's mostly that.
Yeah, and he was not somebody he was not a tokusatsu. He was like a nerdy person, but not a tokusatsu.
Oh no, yeah. This is like thing. Big Man Japan. You already have to know kaiju before you get into like it's like we're already taking a weird ass subgenre. Yeah. And we're going to make it even weirder. That's basically what Big Man Japan is. It takes the idea of the giant hero fighting the monster of the week and turning it into a surrealist, almost like super, super multi-layered tongue-in-cheek joke where you have like the hero is disrespected constantly by everyone around him. Yeah. Nothing goes right in his life. Still tries to keep his chin up and still tries to do the right thing, only for more things to go horribly wrong each time.
He's like the idiot that you're just like watching, like it's gonna be fine. It's just like I just remember like I think right after I was just like texting you and Matt Denny, and I was just like, what the fuck was that? Like, what did you do? And then I even remember like there's the
No, I responded with the clip of Red Letter Media because we're both Red Letter Media fans. That's another thing we bonded over. I'm like, oh no, you misunderstood.
I still remember like because Rainey went on to like record with Matt.
Yes.
And she was just like, my brain's fried because I had to watch Big Man in Japan before we make it. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. And I just remember like the other guy, I wish I could remember his name because he was really nice and he was just like, what is this? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I really wish we could have watched Inglourious Bastards. But yeah, so that was Review Roulette. Oh my god, I can't even talk. Review Roulette. Which we had, and then my husband randomly found out that we had to move, and so we had to like stop doing that. So I had to like an awesome content podcast for I think it was 9 months, and then it was just like, oh crap, we have to move across the country, and like content making not so much going to be a thing. And then I magically went from the glitzy glamour of Las Vegas, Nevada, to the not so glitzy glamour of Midwest Iowa.
And along with the transition, the moving from Nevada back to Iowa, also came the birth of your child, Griffin.
Yes, which was an interesting thing. Which is like, so I'm from Iowa originally, and then I went to Nevada, lived there for about 10 years, and then moved back. And I've always wanted children, but I feel like my body was just like, oh yeah, you're back home now. That's fine. You can do this now. And so just like, I felt like...
You were ready at that point?
Yeah, because essentially we moved back in September of that year. And then I became pregnant in December of that year. So, and we had been trying for a while.
Yeah.
So it's like your body was just like, yeah, we can do this now. It's like, oh, cool. Okay. I was just waiting to like, I wanted, my body knew that like my parents were here and my sister was going to be here. So it's just like, oh, there's going to be people here that can help you. Like, this is going to be great.
Yeah, like the comfort and what do you call it? A support system.
Yes, I had the security and support system of my family where I'm just like, oh yeah, because we'd been trying before and it was not happening, and now it's just like, oh yeah, this is good.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And
which is funny because like December was like the worst month, and that was apparently the month that he came into existence, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's how that works out.
And let's see. And so since then, while while bringing Griffin into the world, I know that's a weird way of saying that.
He was born, yo.
He was born, once Griffin was born. I think I forgot if it was around that time or was it sometime afterwards that you began helping me as an editor for my several of my projects, Soulless Blood, Atomic Rex Ballad of Bravura, and recently Draco Azul Gaiden.
So I think I know. Does it go Soulless Blood and then Ballad, or is it the other way around?
I believe that's might be the other way around, yeah, because I believe Soulless Blood came out in 2023, I want to say. 2022 or 2023, I forgot. And then Atomic Rex might have been prior to that. Let me take a quick look. Let's see.
I feel like I was not pregnant during one of them, and I was during one of them.
Let's see. Okay, so Atomic Rex came out on August 2nd, 2022. And then for Draco Azul Soulless Blood, that was... October 29th, 2022. So both of them came out 2022. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say they were like a couple months apart.
Yeah. I remember like I specifically wanted Soulless Blood to come out in October because it was an action horror story and I wanted it to coincide with Halloween.
2020. Oh. Wait. Of 2022?
2022.
Of October? Oh. So I would have... Oh. I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, so I guess I was pregnant then. So yeah, because I gave birth in.
I remember because like 2022 was also the year we first met in person at G Fest because I was back from Japan. Then. You were very pregnant. Yes, I definitely remember that. So yeah, you got pregnant in late 2021, and then you were very pregnant mid 2022, and then. By the end, this was near the end.
It was September. Same year. September 7th is when the Chosen One came into being.
Yes. So right after. August, September. Okay, so right before your son was born, Ballad of Bravura came out.
Yes.
And then after he was born, we had Soulless Blood. So they were all kind of like concurrently. You were helping me during your pregnancy.
Yeah. Because it was funny because I remember once I moved to Iowa, like my main job was helping my family because like, we farm.
Mm-hmm.
So most of Soulless Blood and Ballad of Bravova, like when I was like editing them, I was like in the cab of a tractor, like trying to like edit them and be like, oh yeah, like how tall is this monster? Like how long does this take? Like how long is this? So yeah, that was an interesting thing of just like. Trying not to be nauseous in the front cab of a tractor trying to edit this book. And then like I was my main thing for like the first year that I helped my dad was like I was like hanging out with my grandpa who's like 91.
Yes.
So be like, oh, what are you reading? It's just like a book. Like I don't like I can't explain this to this man. Like,
could you explain that your friend was writing a book and you were helping him?
I don't even know if I could have done that. Like,
okay.
I remember the one thing I always thought was funny was like my husband bought me these like sunglasses that were Bluetooth enabled. So like I had sunglasses on and then I could hear like audio from my phone.
Oh.
And like spending time trying to figure out that and like explaining that to my like grandfather who was 91 was interesting because it's like, who are you talking to? It's just like my husband, like I'm trying to talk to my husband right now. Or like I'd be like talking to my dad and he'd be like, are you talking to Jim right now? It's just like, yeah, I'm talking to my dad. So a lot of
you should have just told him it was magic.
Oh,
and he might have believed you.
I don't know. He's pretty skeptical. I think he would have like not understood that part, but it was funny trying to like. I think he like had the full grasp of like Bluetooth headphones.
Okay.
But, like, the fact that they were sunglasses, I think, was like a little bit beyond him. But it was just always funny where he was just like trying to yell to talk to my dad, or I'm just like I'm trying to talk, and then like I tried to put my phone up to my ear, even though that wouldn't work, and I'm just like, oh yeah. But yeah, it is. Technology is very fun and advancing things, but yeah, I don't. And then I still remember when I think you were like the first person we told, other than like my family, that we were having a kid.
Yeah,
because you're like, oh yeah, because like we could go to this convention and be like, yeah, my son's gonna be. Oh, because we were trying to figure out what is it? Was it AMA?
Yes, like, I remember we were talking about AMA in 2024 because that was September 11th.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, my son's supposed to be born around then. You're like, excuse me?
I was like, wait, what? Hold on, this is big news.
Like, back it up. Yeah, because I just remember, I think you were the first person we told, other than our family. We were just like, you're like, what? You're like, excuse me? Like, what? I was like, yeah, we're gonna have a baby? I guess.
I suppose.
Hopefully. Mm-hmm. It was a stressful thing, so hopefully. It was
I can imagine.
Yeah. It was not good time. Like I would say, like, not to bore the viewers of this for so much, but like being pregnant was like a dream, and then like the actual like 2 days of giving birth were just like the fucking nightmare. So it's just like, I guess it was worth it. But yeah, I don't know.
I definitely remember that
I have
time.
A little baby. What?
Oh. I was just gonna say I definitely remember during that time you told, like, once it was all said and done, then you told me, it's like, oh wow, gee, like thank God everything went well right.
Gonna live.
So yeah, 2022 definitely was like a very big transitional period for you guys. For me, I was moving from Japan back to America. You guys were, moved from had moved back to Iowa, growing your family. And so in that time period, we had 2023, which was a silent year creatively for me. You guys were, definitely focused on raising your child.
I created a lot.
Yes, absolutely, you did. You created life. We continued to watch Garo, a lot of more Kate Mamiya stuff. And then what was it? Throughout 2024, I had worked on the script for Draco Azul Gaiden, an upcoming webcomic. That's basically one big love letter / tribute to my time in living in Japan in the countryside. You helped me out with that as well. I guess like one question I did want to ask you is, what was it like being an editor for two novels at that point compared to looking over a comic script?
I guess I had helped you with was it issue 3? I helped you with 3.
I think I'm not. Let's see. Yeah, issue 3. Issue 3 did come out in 2022. So yeah, you did help me out at that point.
I would say it was interesting because I remember when you were doing like the webtoon. Like I love webtoons. Like that's one of my primary sources of like entertainment at this point in time. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a couple other like webtoons that you're like a part of where it's just like, like these are different things you could do, and like these are different ways that I enjoyed them. So I would say between the different things that I have helped, it is interesting. Like I think we've talked about this before, where it's just like it is interesting, like with the people that you meet, and then like the different opportunities that you've been presented with, where it's just like, I have been able to edit 2 books and a webtoon and a comic, and it's just like I would have never been able to say that before. We're just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's very interesting. I would say um between the difference of just like a webtoon and a novel, it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like retention where it's just like I know a webtoon is something where it's just like a webtoon is kind of like crack where it's just like you want to keep it going. Like you
Yeah.
want it like you want that retention to like keep going, whereas a book is more an investment where it's just like if you have somebody reading that book, you want them to like keep them engaged, but a webtoon is just like yeah, like you want it like you want cliffhangers, you want the things, you want all the emotions of like pulling at you. And so that was a different thing where it's just like, and I felt you understand that with the webtoon where it's just like we want people to be engaged, and so that was
Oh
an
yeah.
interesting
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It's
It's
just the story.
like writing each, like that's sort of a thing. Like a big part of writing a comic is the page turn. You want to build anticipation for the next
Urgency. It's a
page.
sense of urgency.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, ooh, what's gonna happen? When I turn the page, oh my god, it's this thing,
Yeah. It's
and it's
a
like,
piece of candy. Ooh, a
and,
piece of candy.
yeah, and knowing that this is going to be released like 2 pages a week, it's like I want to make sure I provide enough content for each of these pages, and that to get people excited for the next page that'll come
Yeah.
out the following week. But at the same time, also, I eventually the plan is to release it as a webcomic online for everyone to enjoy for free, especially my former students back in Japan.
Yeah.
And at the same time, once it's all said and done, I would like to eventually compile it and release it as a trade paperback. The whole idea is it's manga style, working with my friend Patrick Miura, who you can follow on Instagram under at Duck Artisan. And so the idea was to make it in a black and white manga style, and then eventually release it as a trade paperback in the same format as a manga through Comics Wellspring, which also does manga-sized square-bound books. So that's the plan, is to release it as this 60-page comic, a one-shot trade paperback like that. So yeah, it was really cool to be able to work on it. We've done a lot of preliminary concept arts over it. I've been really happy with the work that Patrick and I have done. And so we're getting ready. As of the time of this recording, we're getting ready to get started on actually drawing the pages themselves, and I really hope that you guys enjoy that. So moving forward with the actual subject of today's podcast,
We're so bad at this.
no, it's all good. This is like the build up to that.
The climax.
Eventually, like one day, you late in second half of 2024, you had pitched to me a story that you had been writing for some time of Draco Azul. Basically, the characters of Draco Azul encountering a young boy and his giant pet monster, and eventually getting together to solve a mystery behind his parents' murder, and that also happened to involve several giant demon monsters that the two of them eventually team up against. And so I was really impressed by how much work you had put into it already, that you'd already written the first couple chapters involving your characters specifically,
Mhm.
and had a basic outline of what the rest of the story entailed. And so I was curious to know, what was it between editing my books and at that point, what got you interested in wanting to tell your own story, and also at the same time wanting to essentially play within the world of Draco Azul,
Within your sandbox.
within this sandbox, and the little toys, the little action figures of the characters. You got a little Draco Azul with his kung fu grip action.
Yes, and multiple ball joints and the
Swivel ears.
swivels. Yes, no. Because when would I have been like editing? Would it have been like
Oh,
March?
so Gaiden, we had worked on Gaiden. I want to say, what was it?
It would have been like really early in that year, right?
Actually, I remember I started working on Gaiden So I remember I worked on Gaiden within the first 6 months of me working at my new job in Washington State. And so the state of Washington, not Washington, not the university. So I was working on that script sometime between March and let's see, August. Between March and August was when I finished that script, because by the time I had reached the 6-month point, I had received a promotion and that script had already been finished, and I was already in talks with Patrick about working on this book. Oh. And I remember around that same time, he and his wife were moving from Brazil to Dublin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to Ireland. So yeah, a lot of moving going on.
Yeah. Everybody be moving.
Everyone be moving. Everyone's moving on to bigger and better things. Moving on up. So around August was when I had finished Draco Azul Gaiden, and around that time you had pitched me you had pitched me your story for that would eventually become our new novel.
So it must have been something before, because I started writing it in June is when I had thought of the idea.
Yeah.
So essentially I guess I have to say it now. So I had a miscarriage in May, and so instead of becoming a horrible alcoholic, which is like what I thought was going to happen, I was just like, you know what? I help people edit things. I have to be the person that can be like, this could be better. And I've never actually done any of the things that I was helping people do. And I was just like, I could write a story. I need to like focus this energy of grief and loss into something other than just drinking myself to death, which was probably what was going to happen if I could not figure something else out. So every time my son took a nap, I was just like, I'm going to write something. I'm going to figure something out. And then I realized the best place to do that would be in somebody else's sandbox. So I was just like, I have a friend that has an amazing lore. He's already established all of these things, and I could play in that play box. I could I could do all of the things. And then I kept thinking about like all of the different story tropes that I don't like that people do now, and I'm like, oh, everybody's does all these things about like family. And it's just like, that's so dependent. Like, wouldn't it be great if I could do like a story where it's just like, it's just this boy and he's trying to figure this out? And like another trope that I don't like is that like children are stupid, where it's just like, wouldn't it be great if it's just like, this kid knows what he knows and there's a reason for it. Like it's understood that he was surrounded by this knowledge. It would, and like kids are like sponges, as I have learned with my son, who swears now, and I have to be better about not saying the things that I want to say. But like sometimes he wakes up and he says, "God damn it," when he wakes up, and I'm just like, oh,
it's like, I feel you, bro, but unfortunately you can't say that.
Oh, it was so cute. One morning he was just like, "God damn it!" I was just like, "You can't. You want to say that every morning?" Like, because he's next to me when I wake up, and I'm just like, every morning, and I'm just like, "No, God damn it!" Yeah, so I have to stop saying that. And then like, I think we had like joked earlier that like his first words were like Dobby and Shisa, which are our dogs, but like, when it says like Shisa, it's like, shut up, Shisa. And so he just like, shut up, Shisa. Like he says this as so like kids are like sponges. So it would make sense that like if you had this child around this environment that they would like soak up so much. So it's just like, I always hated that people treated kids as like exposition tools, or just like, I need to explain these things to these kids because they're dumb. But it's like kids probably understand more like what's going on than anything. So it's just like, I wanted like no family. I hated that people treated like kids like shit. And then I just wanted a villain that was just like the stupid scam people, and I wanted them to die, and I wanted it to be great. But yeah, so I just kept thinking like, I'm going to funnel all this grief and attention into making a story, and then I'm going to force my friend to read this and then publish it. So that's pretty much what happened with that.
And I definitely remember reading the script, and I was very impressed by how much you had already written. I was already
I
engrossed.
still remember you're like, oh, there's like 70 pages. I'm
I wasn't like, I didn't expect it. Like, I was expecting a short story, because like that's what I did
you misunderstood.
Yeah, because like when I first attempted prose writing, I started with short stories initially. That's what led to the creation of Draco Azul Full Metal Chronicles. But like, yeah, I was taken. I was like blown away by how much work you thought and effort.
I wanted to show you what I could do.
Yes,
like, I wanted to that was like. I remember thinking the whole idea, like the whole thing with like prose writing was really fun, where it's just like, I feel like it was creating problems that you had to solve, where it's just like, I want to do this, but like, well, what does that mean for the rest of the story?
Yes.
And so like, I constructed this whole story in my head, and then I was like, I'm going to write the first like 2 chapters, like how I would want it to be. And so I think that's what I sent the outline. And then when I had helped you with Ballad, it was very distinctly like it was you writing it, and then it was Matt writing his parts. And so I was just like, if I go into this thinking like I'm gonna write my parts, and then you can write your parts with like Eric and Ramona, but with like a basic idea of like how they would interact. So that's how I kind of went into it. And so that was a very helpful thing of like when I helped you edit things, I understood how you wrote things or like how you understood things, which was probably very helpful going into all of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And initially we did start it out doing that, where whenever there were chapters of just Makai and Griffin, Griffin the Griffin, we had because going forward, when I'm to explain to the audience, when I'm referring to Griffin, I'm referring to the monster, not Laura's son.
It's the same.
Who is named after Griffin. Griffin the Griffin is named after Griffin.
Yeah.
So when you have the chapters that focus on solely Makai and Griffin, those would be chapters that you would take over. The chapters where it's just Team Draco, I would do those basically. But then as the development on the book went forward, like our chapters, our characters ended up like merging, because I feel like there were more times when Griffin and Makai were alongside my characters more often than not, as opposed to Ballad of Bravura, where there was an equal amount of chapters of just Matt's characters and just my characters. So it was very much so like we had written the books 50-50, and then it wasn't until the climax that we ended up writing these chapters together. And even then there were sections that I wrote and sections that he wrote. Whereas here, Makai and Team Draco are pretty much together for the majority of the story, so a lot of our writing was basically quickly blended further and further together, and that allowed us to explore our sort of strengths and weaknesses in a way, as we decide to write it. And yeah, like to quickly go back, I was very incredibly impressed by how much you were able to accomplish on your own, and it was that pitch, that 70-page pitch, that showed me that this is a person who is committed to getting the job done, and B, has the means, the talent of getting it done. And so I was like, this is incredible. I see so much potential in this. Let's fucking do it. And again, upon learning about what led to this story being made in the first place, it's
which I didn't tell you till the end because I didn't want to guilt you into it.
Of course, no. But I was I was very incredibly touched that of all the things you could have done, that you wanted to use my characters to help you through this point in your life. I had nothing but the utmost highest form of respect for you, and
they're my favorite action figures in the sandbox. When I'm just like, this is great. Yeah,
I feel like nothing but positivity came out of this project, and that I do hope that that you had enjoyed this journey, and as much as it has brought you much joy as it has brought me to make this story.
It is nice because I think I've told you Makai was the name that I had given to not to go into too much detail, but like essentially I found out that I was going to have a baby, and then 2 weeks later I found out that I was not. But like during those 2 weeks I was like, oh, I like Makai, that's a nice name. And so then when I found out that was not going to happen, essentially Makai became this thing that I wanted to have a happy life. And then I was just like, how can I do this without it being like real? And I'm like, I can do this with a book. Like I can make Makai, like, and then Griffin can be his big brother, and it's great. And so it's like, so that was.
Oh yeah, and they'll forever be immortalized in the pages of our book.
Yes, yeah. So it's just like, it's one of those things where it's just like nobody, just like, not everybody has to know that, but it's just like, it's just for me, or it's just like I can pay homage to this weird factor of my life that I never had, like never thought that I'd have to deal with. And it's just like, oh, it's just a weird thing, but it's just like, yeah, it's just you feel like you have to do something. You have to represent.
Oh yeah,
something.
Yeah. And it's really good that you used it to create something.
Yes.
To make art out of it.
Destroy myself.
Rather than, you didn't do it to destroy, but to create. That's, it is again, very incredibly admirable and a very brave thing to do. And even wanting to share this in this recording, I feel like,
I feel like now that I did the dedication, I can't get away from it, and now we're doing this after, I can't get away from it. Yeah,
that's good. But I guess like I really don't want to make it feel like I'm trying to change subjects, but like
like what? Even Herman said, everybody's got a big butt.
When it came to the creation of the story itself, I had mentioned earlier that it helped us explore the strength, pros and cons of our writing. And I remember ever since you pointed out the logistics of Ramona's jacket, that you had a very very keen eye for detail, and that was a quality of yours that shined when you were an editor from our books. You brought up logistical the concept of time, the size of the character of the creatures, just logistical decisions that we had not thought about, but it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you brought it up. I will do this here. You brought up how certain aspects of Draco Azul worked, given that the characters are living inside of him like a giant humanoid metal apartment. And also, especially, you
know what happens when they pee now.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't need to think about it back then, but for the sake of prose writing and expanding on these sorts of things in ways you couldn't do in a comic, it allows us to just, expand on certain details of the world and also get a further in-depth analysis into the characters' heads and what they're thinking, where their headspace are. You helped me create this subplot where it's like, oh, Eric feels guilty over uprooting Ramona from her old life in her hometown. He's wondering
I will say one of my favorite things that I've written is like just that making breakfast. Like it was just like, that was just a great thing. We're just like, they have this weird interaction, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's just these two people eating breakfast, but it's just
having a moment together, like a nice little sentimental moment.
And I remember you said like, this isn't something I could do in the comics. We're just like, yeah, it's just great them being like, oh yeah, this is like our life. This is the life we lead now.
Yeah. And again, you had Eric who was wondering, are you okay with being a part of all of this? And Ramona's like, yes, absolutely, but we also
didn't
explore.
Have a choice, but I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, but she also eventually comes up with the she has her own sense of longing for home, although she eventually gets to a point where she's like, okay, you know what, I thought I had missed home, but in actuality, I feel like this is my home with you and Ekchua here. And Eric
really is where the heart is. Like,
exactly. And we get to explore that side of her, explore the this aspect of their relationship at this point in the comics story before we move on canonically to issue 3, where eventually
I will say this happens right after Soulless. Well,
oh yeah, we bring up the events of Soulless Blood are still fresh in the mind. We even bring up how Ramona had now she is very much so aware of the physical danger and stress that Eric puts himself into. She understands his position, and it's like, yeah, I'm glad that I got to pilot Draco Azul, but I'm not doing that anytime soon again.
I'm good. I will do it if I have to, but no.
Yeah. So I enjoy that continuity, and I believe I made some references to Full Metal Chronicles in Soulless Blood, so it was kind of fun to have like a little pseudo sub continuity within the books that do not get referenced for the most part in the comics, because the comics are meant to be the main story. The books themselves are the side stories, the Gaiden stories, if you will. And again,
double Gaiden. Your other one is like double Gaiden.
Yes, that, and I'm only calling that one Gaiden because it's Japanese inspired. Its full title is Primal Warrior Draco Azul Gaiden Hellfire. But I call it Draco Azul. I call it Gaiden just for the sake of brevity. But yeah, another thing that I mentioned, you had a keen eye for detail, but also you certainly are very proficient in those character driven moments. Where there's not a lot of action going on, but there's certainly a lot of interesting things going on between the characters themselves, and I feel like that helped immensely in terms of the moments between the big action set pieces here.
Yeah.
The whole idea of exploring the one town, Ramona deciding to take a stroll downtown, having some a moment to clear her head, and also getting to befriend a certain fellow bartender, bar owner. All of that I thought was it was wonderful getting to work with you in creating these fun scenarios for this story.
It was like the one shots. Whenever you think about I get to do all these things, we're just I don't know. It's an interesting when you don't really think about when you read other people's stuff how much of that stuff is that person pulling from their own life. Mm-hmm. And so after writing something, it's just you just realize how much of something those other people and then writing with you, you're oh yeah, this is I would rather this not be my grandpa's name because this person is an evil person. So mm-hmm. if we could not name them after this person, that would be great. So we changed the name of somebody, but it's just
mm-hmm.
It's just the interesting things with with the Ramona thing. She goes into a bar, but then I always just remember my mom talking about how these bartenders always have to listen to all these people's business, and I'm just oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They would be the gossip center, so that's what Ramona would know. She would be oh yeah, this is all that's going on in this town. That's the center of this, and it's just all these different things you pull from yourself of hearing, and just you put so much of yourself into this work where it's just I don't know, I don't know how people write multiple series and just do you run out of stuff, or mm-hmm. is that what it just is that what it means to be a good author when you don't have to do that?
I mean, hey, we had To Kill a Mockingbird, and that author just pretty much had the one book, and we are not going to acknowledge the sequel because she technically didn't write that book.
No, yeah, and it's just it is interesting how I know there's a lot of people who are what is it what is it called when you think you think you didn't do it? What is it called?
Imposter syndrome.
Yes, imposter syndrome.
Okay.
I can understand that, but I feel you can't have imposter syndrome if you put so much of yourself into it, where it's just there's nobody else on the planet that has had the same life as me. Where it's just
mm-hmm.
I was telling I was telling Andres today that we released our book today. I know
mm-hmm.
this is going to come out later,
mm-hmm.
but this is coming out the day that we released it, and I just randomly was to my family group chat, I was hey, this is gonna be random, but I co-wrote a book and it's on Amazon today. And then my sister was oh, I see that Griffin's a monster, and I was yeah, you and my brother are kind of in there. Am I a monster? And I was no. I made you and my brother characters that may or may not make it to the end of it
because of a monster.
Yeah, it's oh, you might be people, but it's just it's interesting when you're want to pull from your life and you're wait, I have to do things with these characters that I don't want to do things with my I don't I still remember, like, I know it's not too much of a spoiler because this is the very beginning of the book, but like,
Yeah.
I kill off the two characters that I based off of my brother and sister, and I cried so hard when I had to do that. And I was just like, why did I do this to myself?
And like in a morbidly funny kind of way, it's like these are the characters. This is the first chapter that I read. And like this is the thing. So like this is the first thing that would ever got.
I'm like, this is what they look like.
Yeah,
this is my brother and sister.
This is everything. This is like the first impression that I got, which is a powerful and positive first impression, because again, how much I'm drawn into the story through this tragic event. But this was the first thing ever that was written of. I'm assuming you wrote this chapter before anything else.
Yes, because there's this. So I had I did the outline.
Yeah.
And then the first 2 chapters was like me being like, "Hey, this is what you're getting into if you want this." Like. But yes. Oh, because my favorite thing that did not make it was like, I loved the chapter headings of my chapters.
Oh yes, you because like I don't title my chapters, and we ultimately didn't for the final book.
Sad.
But you made such wonderful titles, jokey titles for each of these chapters that could like what was it? They exude so much of your personality in these chapters that it's like I see that. And it's like, flashback time, bitches. I'm like, I could easily, yep, that's something Laura would say.
Ancient Mexican lamentation music was my favorite one. Or the other one was like, I think I remember I had to make one of the fight scenes longer. I'm like, this is the fight scene that never ends. And it was like,
it will go on music. And on, my friend.
And then I realized I had to like keep that chapter going, and I'm just like, this is still the fight scene. Yeah, I was just like, oh my god. And there's like, flash time, and there was like the gift shop from hell.
Yes, that sounds like straight up sounds like it could be like a Goosebumps title.
Yeah, and I think that was what I think. Like, so when I did the outline, I just did the chapters, and then I wrote underneath of it. And then when I did, so it was just like epilogue, but then the epilogue turned into like 5 chapters, and then it was just like flashback, bitches, and then it was just like still going. Yeah, so I just like the gift shop from hell, and I can't remember some of the other ones, but yeah, that was my favorite thing. And then you're like, yeah, we're just gonna do numbers, and I'm like,
only to be stylistically consistent with the other books.
I know, and I was just like, but Mexican ancient lamentation music.
And like, I'm sorry, Laura, no one's gonna get these references.
No, that was oh
yeah. So, side story. I'll be quick about this. We had watched, like, you, Nick, and I. We had all watched the Snyder cut.
That we watched together. That was not full content.
All 4 hours of it.
Yeah, because I remember we had like recorded something, and I don't think I had ever asked you to do anything other than like make content.
Yeah.
And you're like, I haven't seen that. I'm like, we could watch it. And you're like, yeah. And I was just like, so that was the first thing that we ever did as like friends.
Yes.
And I remember taking my makeup off and eating asparagus, and I'm just like, I guess we're friends now.
Like, that's how you know you're friends, where you can just like, I don't need to look presentable.
I'm taking the shit off and I'm hungry. Like,
we just chilling. We just chilling here. We don't care.
We watch. Oh fuck! We just watched The Shadow too, hadn't we?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna watch this.
But now we just homies. We homies here.
We chilling, yeah.
And then of course we watched it with closed captions on. Personally, that's always been my preferred way of watching movies.
The only way to watch movies.
Yeah. And so every time you have or Wonder Woman appear, or any of the Amazonians, there's always this like music. And so the subtitles always refer to it as Ancient Lamentation. And so we for whatever reason, we just found it so funny that Ancient Lamentation just kept appearing in the closed captions again and again, that like we just made that a sort of in-joke between all of us.
It was great. Yeah, that was my favorite one. I'm like, Mexican ancient lamentation music, and then it was just like flash time. And then I can't remember something. I wish I would have saved some of them, but it was like that was my main like thing. And then you're just like, these are gone. I'm like, but this is so funny.
Yes, but it's not. It's totally inconsistent with the story we're telling.
I know. I remember I was even like, well, like Matt Daniel does. You're like, no, we have numbers. I'm like, okay, okay.
So one thing I wanted to ask, when it came to, we have the pairing of Griffin and Mackay, we had plenty of stories that have been told about like a young boy and his big giant or a big giant larger than life non-human best friend. We have stuff like the Iron Giant, we have E.T., we have Pete's Dragon, even recently as Bumblebee. Even a subversion of the trope, which is ironic because it's the oldest example, potentially, Mighty Joe Young. So I was curious to know, instantly this reminded me of the kid from The Rescuers Down Under. Or even you can bring up Pokemon in certain cases. I was curious if there was any, or Digimon, another big one there. I was curious if there was any specific influence for the boy and his pet giant monster, or the boy and his giant monster best friend.
I think it would have been like, I know it's not quite the right one, but it would have been like the Gamera Legion.
Or Gamera the Brave?
Or yeah, that one too, but like, is it not Legion? What's the third one? Where like it's the girl.
Revenge of Iris.
Yeah, where it's not quite that one, but it's like, yeah. And it is because I remember like when I was trying to sell this to you, I'm like, it's like Gamera the Brave and Indiana Jones and Draco Azul put together. We're just like, I think when I was trying to think of stories originally, I was coming like off of the coattails of Soulless Blood, where I'm just like, it'd be really interesting if it was like this kid who had lost his family and it's coming back to like one of the towns in Soulless Blood where like the vampires had killed everybody. And he just assumed that like everybody was gone, because it's like that's what you do when you're a kid. You're just like, I see this, everybody's dead, I'm coming back in. And then obviously you have to tie the human story into the monster story, because I never really like when it's just like the monster story is happening and
it's like the human story is like super divorced from the monster stuff,
or like the human story is like, we have to kill this monster. We're just like, that's not necessarily attached to it, but it is. We're just like, we have to kill the thing. So I think that's maybe why I like the Gamera the Brave and Iris, where it's just like they are kind of intrinsically tied together. So I was trying to figure out a way of like, so if this kid went into town and found out that like everybody was dead and his family's dead and he has to go back in, what would be like the way that I would have a monster like come back in and have like this tied into a family story, or like so I'm like, he obviously has to find something. He has to find like a little monster and have a tie with that, because I feel like if a kid finds a big monster, that's not like, it has to be littler than him. It has to have like that type of connection, and then it could be a big monster. So I was just like, is that what like he has to find some sort of little thing and then it grows bigger, which was what I like about Gamera the Brave. I'm not really a big Gamera fan, but like I like that he's like, I have this little turtle, and it's like, I feel like any kid can relate to that, where it's like, I found this like little puppy, I found this cat, and then like all of a sudden you're like, well crap, it's like the size of a house, like what do I do? Like, this is not what I was invested in. So it's like, I kind of like that idea of just like, I found this little pet, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, it's like Clifford, like I don't know. So that was kind of the vehicle I went in with. It was just like, he needs to find this little thing, and then like this little thing turns into a big thing. But the thing I wanted to happen was like, I wanted it to be like, I wanted him to find this creature and it be like a mid-sized creature for like most of their relationship, because I feel like it's hard to have a relationship with a really big monster. Like like as much as you were like, Godzilla's really cool, but like if you're the size of his like toenail, then like you can't have any sort of interaction, you can't have any sort of like connection. So that's why like in our book he doesn't get bigger till like quite a bit later. But so yeah, I was like, he needs to have this little monster, he needs to have a connection, he needs to be on his own. And then that was, so originally it was going to be like, he didn't know that like any of the other world existed, and then like Team Draco was going to pop in and be like, hey, the world hadn't ended, but then that changed drastically, and that was another thing that was interesting about writing, where it's just like I feel like you kind of created your own problems and you have to fix them. Where like that didn't really make any sense, and so it was just like a natural progression. And then a lot of things that I found was interesting was like I kept writing Eric wrong, and you were kept writing like this isn't what Eric is, and I'm just like no, this is like he's like dumb and like not right, and you're like no, this is not like. I felt like I had a pretty good handle of Ramona, not at all of what Eric was. So,
I remember you also had difficulty writing Ectua as well.
yeah, like I feel like a weird like a trio was kind of hard. Like Ramona was the most like that was my like window in, and I feel like I used her a lot.
Yeah,
when trying to write this, where it's just like she was just presented with this lifestyle, and she has like, and that was a lot of like we said with like the conversations for breakfast and a lot of things were just like, yeah, like anybody would be like, hey, do you want to jump in this robot and save the world? It's like anybody would say yes, but
like, but then like after the fact, it's like oh,
like what's 3 days later looking like? And you're like, I am living in this robot with this man that I don't know, and this AI that I don't know either.
You know what you just reminded me of? Remember the ending to The Graduate?
Oh God, you're like, yep, you're just sitting in the back of that bus.
Like first when you're in the moment, you're like, yeah, you know, screw what the world thinks. We're gonna go strike out on our own. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Shit, yeah. That's pretty much
we are on our own.
And I think there's a lot of things where it's like, and I feel like the legendary movies don't do a good job because they keep like perpetuating that. They're like, it's great. It's just like, no, it's not.
Oh yeah, and they never focus on the consequences of certain characters and monsters' actions. It's just every movie's just like a soft reboot of the previous one.
Yeah, and I feel like that was another thing where I wanted to do like Dress, where it's just like, I feel like I would make the choice that Ramona made. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like anybody would do that because it's like it's either go back to like the grovel that is your life or like but it's like you do have to live with the choices of your actions. Like you do have to be like, I am living in this giant mech, I have no connections, or can she call her family? Like could she let them know she's okay? Like it's all these things where it's just like, yeah, I am saving the world, but like is this what I want? Like is this forever?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is this my life now?
And again, looking at like with Eric, we're taking a chance to look at like his he is guilty. Like this is his most direct means of seeing the impact that his actions have had on other people's lives. His actions,
consequences of your actions.
We explore the feeling of guilt that he has, his means of wanting to do the right thing, trying to do what the best as he can to make things right. We look at his brashness of his tendency to jump into things without thinking things through. Ultimately, the consequences of those it's all about actions and consequences. I feel like that's like a reoccurring theme within this story, and also just on top of that, just the theme of making the most out of life and making the most out of the whatever situation, whatever hand you have been dealt with in life. And then in the background you have, Ectua, who's trying to keep everything together, having the being like the pseudo patriarch or like a father figure. I've always saw him as a father figure, tried his best to keep a situation desperately under control, even as things get more and more crazy out there. And I do remember getting the chance to explain to you the sort of family dynamic that Eric and Ramona have with Ectua. Ectua is not only like a father figure, he's like I mentioned, like Mickey from the Rocky movies. He is not only Rocky Balboa's coach, he is the closest thing he has to a father figure in that movie series. He's very gruff, but he's also compassionate. He's very stern, but he's also very heartfelt. Ramona, she is like the heart of the team. She provides like the soul, the humanity. Eric is he is the like Ectua is the mind. he's like Extra is the mind.
He's a muscle.
He's the muscle. I see them as like the mind, body, and soul, the three parts of a cohesive unit. Extra is the brains. He is the mind. Ramon is the heart. Eric is the soul. Mind, body, and soul. Eric is the body. He is the one out there putting his life on the line, wanting to do the right thing, willing to put his life on the line before anyone else's. Mm-hmm. He may not be the smartest. He may not.
He'll do the things,
but he is the most courageous. And he is one there to, when he realizes his mistakes, he is there to rectify his mistakes. Yeah. So that is generally like the purpose that each of the characters have to form this solid unit that is Team Draco. And so getting the chance to have the chance for Makai to interact with all three characters was really wonderful, to sort of like be able to have each character showcase their personalities. And I really love the camping sequence where we get to have Makai have a moment alone with each character. I feel like that was definitely a big highlight for the story, because it's like being able to share with you like the strengths of these characters, but also being able to showcase that firsthand through these character interactions.
Yeah. Because I feel like Makai as a younger person is kind of missing all three of those things, and he kind of is like searching for those, where it's just like that was the most interesting part, where it's like I think that was the hardest part to write, was the camping thing, where it's just like it's him just like dumping all of his stuff, which I feel like I have done to you during all of this stuff, where it's just like I feel like Makai is just like kind of like, this is all that's happened to me, and then like it's just all of them reacting in their different ways, which I think is interesting, where it's just like Ramona is the heart, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm trying to like relate to you, and then Eric is trying to like think about like the future and trying to be like, yeah, this is what I would do, and then Ek is trying to be like, oh, and that was I felt so bad the whole time I was writing this. I misspelled Extra's name, and just like, that's not how it's spelled. I'm like, I don't even know. I wrote the whole book and I spelled it wrong. But yeah, it was really fun to write that and just be like, yeah, it's just them having s'mores, but it's a whole different thing. And then like it is interesting to like, when you write a monster book, you were like, I'm so excited to write all these monster things. But then there's like, when I think back, the things that I'm most proud of writing is just like, there's this one scene where like this temple breaks apart, where I'm like, that's really good. Or like the part where like Griffin's rolling around in like cattail seeds. I'm like, I love that scene where it's like snowing but not snowing. And I'm like, that'd be great. But it's like, that's not at all the things that I thought it'd be like, yeah, it's great when the starfish punches him in the face. It's just like, oh. I like when it's like snowing and he's just like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And earlier before I was saying how we have our strengths and weaknesses. But I remember like you were very proficient at writing these smaller character moments. Meanwhile, it was always great whenever I got to go in and help you out with the fight sequences, whether I was writing them from scratch.
I overanalyze those so much.
There's definitely like
what hand picked up this, and you're like, you don't need that. I'm like, well, you need to know what hand picked up this.
Yeah, it's like there's definitely a certain flow to writing a fight scene where you don't want to be too analytical in the nitty-gritty details.
You need to know what hand picked up the thing.
Yeah, like the character then, leapt into the air, like thrusted his fist, smashed down to the ground. The characters reeled from the enemy reeled from the impact. At which point, it felt like I was like I kind of see it as like being a radio announcer. It's like, oh, he's going in for the punch. It's a KO. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen. Never seen anything like this.
I especially remember for like, I won't spoil the end fight, but I remember the end fight I didn't want to write. And so I felt like I just wrote so much because I'm just like, and then this, and then this, and then this, because I didn't want the end part to happen. Right. And you're just like,
oh yeah, the pacing suffered as a result.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if a fight goes on for too long and not enough interesting stuff is happening, it's like, oh, we gotta get it going. We can't.
We gotta get going. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
which was the best thing that you could do. But like, I just remember that one fight where I'm just like, I don't want this part to happen. And I'm just like, and then his left foot went forward to the right, and it was like, no, we don't eat this. It's just like, yeah. So that was.
But again, it was being able to go in and try to make things as, bombastic as possible.
And it's streamlined. It was very streamlined.
Yeah.
It was aerodynamic AF.
Yeah. So, again, it was really great being able to, utilize our strengths in order to, make up for, each other's, parts that we are lacking in order to, make utilize our strengths to the utmost to the fullest. To make this really engaging story. Not to toot our own horn here, but I'm very extremely proud at how this book came together. And yeah, with the monster stuff, I think originally we had planned the end boss, or you had created the end boss, which eventually evolved into a slightly different kind of end boss by the end.
Well, because of you.
Right. I wanted to we had 3 monsters, and so I had an idea of incorporating all 3 monsters by the end of the book.
I think it was essentially it was 1 monster, and then I was like, we could have a Diablo.
Yes,
which would be
I remember.
More in line with your story.
Yeah,
and then an end monster. But you're like, we don't have to have this be a Diablo. It could be intrinsic to the story, and then you complete my most favorite thing. We were like, I think that we had talked about this earlier, where it's just like nothing was sacred. Where it's just like, hey, I presented you the story. You can't change anything. I just need you to make it better.
Yeah. That was something that we did. I Matt Denyon and I did cover when we were had our last episode of Shuwatch about Atomic Rex Ballad of Bravura, where it's criticism, critiques of other when working in a collaboration. Obviously, not everything that one person has is going to go forward. There's going to be a lot of critiquing, a lot of elaboration.
Everything makes sense in your own head. It does not make sense in other people's heads.
Right. But then it's being able to talk it out and be able to flesh out certain ideas in ways that the original person who had that idea didn't think about before. It does definitely, in order for a collaboration to work, you have to be open to what the other person has to say. Yes. Obviously not all of my ideas made into the final book, not all of your ideas made into the final book. It's sort of a compromise is very important. Again,
it is a collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of give and take here. It's okay, we'll go with your idea here. Maybe let's go with my idea here. Or, oh, this doesn't work out. What if we do it a little bit like this so that both of us are satisfied here?
Yeah, but my favorite thing that you said was because I think originally I had said oh, the ending happens in this location, and you're like, we could just change it to this other place. And I'm like, oh yeah. And so by you recommending that, it added so much more to the book, and it was so much more fun to write. It added so much more that I wanted to add that I had no idea how to do. And it was just oh yeah, we could just do that. And it was so funny how it was almost serendipitous, where it's just yeah, we could just just change the location. And
it was just one little a tweak here and there, and suddenly everything kind of lines into place. Everything just kind of fits together.
Perfectly. And then it's almost sad to think I would not if we hadn't changed that, if we had just done the whole book because originally the ending was going to happen in normal time. I don't even know.
Basically a simple open canyon area location.
Yeah. It was just it was just going to be it would have been a basic easy setting where it's just it was just going to be here, and then it happened, and then it happened. But it's with you were we could do this and this, and I was oh god, that would make it so much better, and it did, and I feel it's so much better because of that.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting because of that. Oh, and then it is another thing where just I always remember I think it was during our Mecha Godzilla review roulette episode where it's just Matt Denyon was talking about how collaborating with making, I think it was when he was talking about selling off his characters to like other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, aren't you like sacred about that? And it's just like, I will never forget when he was just like, I have 2 kids playing like with Godzilla toys. It's like, I think about them, and I remember at the time I'd like that did not connect, but like now it does. We're just like, yeah, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Like I love the characters that I made, and I understand why I made them, but it's just like I have a son that I need to do things for. It's just like, yeah, it's just like you have to make sacrifices, and then sacrifices make things better. Like if I was like, no, Andres, you can't, like, I'm sending you this document and I'm gonna need you to understand that this is what we're gonna make. And you're like, no, I'm like, yeah. Like this is not sacred to me. Or it's just like, I don't know. It's just a weird thing to think that other people could be like, this is what it needs to be done. It's like, no, like collaboration is great. Like this book made it so much better. Like I love the book that we made, and I thought that I would not, because I thought I loved the book that I made originally, but it's just like, no, like
it can be better.
Yeah, and it was like I loved writing all of the like we had a whole Indiana Jones segment that we would not have had because of that.
Yeah, because like when I read that, I wasn't sure if like a pulp action adventure story like Indiana Jones or like Doc Savage was like something that was intended. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Indiana Jones, because like my brother loved like the whole hat thing is my brother. Like my brother loves Indiana Jones, and like
nice.
The whole juggling thing, like, and the whole OCD, like it was so funny to be like, to tell my sister today, to be like, yeah, there's a character based stuff for you, but like, yeah. Don't expect any crossovers or anything.
Because like I wanted to lean more further into that, because I think that like making this story, because like the first one is like Full Metal Chronicles, I would see that as just straight up sci-fi action. The second book was an anthology as well. Yeah. This one, that was its identity. The second book's identity is of horror action. And here I thought pulp action adventure. That's, a really good way to give this story, have this story stand out. And
as much as we love our pulp, man.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of my returning episodes on Review Roulette were us looking at the pulp / noir style stories. The basis of our
friendship is just like, you haven't seen this?
You haven't seen The Rocketeer?
Oh God. I still can't believe you hadn't seen The Shadow. I distinctly remember in all caps being like, you have not seen
The Shadow, because I was a fan of the 80s Shadow comics.
You have not seen, like, I've seen The Phantom, but I've not seen The Shadow. I'm like, you have not seen.
Yeah, and so with elaborating on ideas, having pulp, making this pulp adventure throwback, I did want to lean more into that, and that's what led me to come up with the idea of what if we had the classic characters exploring an ancient ruins sort of a mysterious environment sort of deal, and in the case of the starfish, without spoiling much, it was an idea of just combining the starfish idea with a previously set up threat, and then utilizing an ability that previous threat had to make the connection between the two of them. I feel
like that was an interesting. So you can have like a whole kaiju novel, but like I feel like the starfish fight is a whole different type of fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like more of like psychological, but it's still like I'm very proud of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because this threat that appears in the beginning shows up sporadically throughout the whole book in various different forms, and the second to final form, I thought you had this idea for it, which led down a very unique scenario we had not touched on in Draco Azul before. Which I thought was a lot of fun, and being able to get to write it and give a personality to it was also, again, tons of fun.
Yeah. I will say I was very thankful for my husband, because I just remember there was one night where I'm like, so how do computers work? And like,
And it's like, for me, it's like, that's a really good, I was like, that's a really good fucking question, because I just sort of like make up, what was it? I have like a very like Doctor Who sort of thing where it's like, oh, the reversing the polarity in the neutron flow.
Like, oh, that was the interesting word, because I was just like, so what's the difference between like a virus and malware? And like, it was just an interesting, I don't know, like, I feel like I've watched, like, maybe that was the whole thing with like me being really mad at like the legendary things where it's just like, I need you to tell me how things make sense. Like,
it's like, no, shut up. This is just magic Wi-Fi from the center of the earth that we're sending information about a new substance that we've never discovered before, so that you can remake it from scratch to power up Mechagodzilla.
Oh, it's so stupid. Yeah.
There are some there are people out there who are like, oh, it's fine, it's good enough for me.
It's not.
For us, it's like it's just a big giant fuck you to your face.
Like I'm sure there's gaps in some of the things, but like I wanted it to make somewhat sense. Like,
in universe at the very least.
Like, the whole thing that bothers me is like, one of the other things is like, we kind of touch on like what do they call it in the legendary thing where they're like, this time doesn't matter. Like, Kurt Russell is the same age as he was.
Oh no, wasn't I think it was like the wife of not John Goodman, who ends up being the same age, I think.
Oh god, yeah, this is just like, no. Oh, and then I don't even know how they do it, and like because the girl goes back too, doesn't she? The little Kylie. Doesn't she? Like...
Kaylee Hoddle, the deaf. Yeah. Oh yeah, they never bring up that fact at all in either.
She should go back, and it should be like 2 seconds after her parents like abandoned her, like.
But her parents are not even brought up whatsoever.
Yeah, which is stupid, and that's why I wanted to address all of things. I wanted to fix all, like. That's the lovely thing of like when you make your own thing and then you impose it on your friend, where you're like, I can fix all of the things and other things that I don't like. We're just like pocket, like we have our own pocket thing, and it's beautiful and it makes sense. And there's a beautiful pit bull that doesn't have to fight other dogs. It's great.
Yeah. Last thing about this book I want to bring up was our human villain, Afortunado, this gang member who's a low-ranking member of the cartel. I really love the pitch that you gave to me with this character. So I want you to explain this type of character and sort of like the sort of like awfulness that he embodies.
I feel like it was a good combination of like, lately in media there's been like the sympathetic villain where just like, I understand, like I've like Loki is like the easy go-to, where it's just like, he's hot and he's made some mistakes, so it's fine. But then like the other thing that I really love in my life is like, I love like YouTube drama, and like I love getting into that and just like finding all of these things. And so my go-to hate thing is just like, I hate those people who get to like scam people and it's not legal, so they get to like get away with it. And I'm just like, I wish these people had repercussions, where it's just like that Fire Festival guy.
Billy McFarlane.
Yeah, who gets to have Fire Festival too, even though none of the things have been announced. And it's just like, this man obviously does not feel any of the repercussions of his actions because he's going to do it again.
And people are going to give him money, especially this time, because they want to get in on the action when it happens.
It's like those like what is it called, like the meme coins. It's just like people are, like, purposely doing things to like short other people. So our main villain is a cross between like the Fire Festival guy and then
Tommy Tallarico,
where just like this man just keeps lying and just keeps getting away with it, and it's just like you see these people and you're like, I just want you to go to jail, or I want you to like.
His mother is very proud of him.
Yeah, I'm sure she's just like, oh, Italian tears coming down her face. But yeah, it's just like, I hate these people who just like don't get to feel any repercussions. And I'm just like, I want a villain where it's just like, you want them to die. Like, you want them to, like, you want
Yeah.
them to be eaten. You want the worst things to happen to them. Like, I want that type of villain.
Right. A
where it's just
person
like,
who's just like a grade A son of a
piece
gun.
of shit. Yeah, it's like you want that POS. Like, I don't want somebody like I don't want to be like I don't want a Tom Hiddleston where you're just like, well, he's hot though. Like,
Oh, but he was abandoned at an early age.
yeah, you're like I want nothing. Like, I want no
He's
sort of
just
thing where
misunderstood.
yeah, no, this person is just like this person
He
took
just
advantage of
needs a
people most of the
hug.
time. Yeah, no, this person needs to be punched in the face. Like,
Or
I want that.
this guy ends up like not to spoil much about it because it just came out, but it's like, his again actions and consequences.
Yes.
And I want to say, one of my favorite quotes on the internet is "fuck around, find out."
Yeah. Oh, God, yes. My favorite line that I like, we were talking about like different lines that we've like typed out. I'm like, my favorite thing was just like this whole trope of like what is it? It's something to do with potatoes, and then it like just keeps going from there, and it's just like this dude is so stupid he doesn't even know, like he's just falling into this like other person's trap, and just like, you're so stupid. But you want to be a big dude, you want to be loved, you want all the things, and just like, no, like you're just gonna be effed over, man. Like, you're just gonna be a hump in the road.
It's like whatever happens, he's got it coming.
Yeah, so like that, I wanted that type of villain. Like, I wanted, and then like I was trying to figure out like a name. Like, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know what, and that's why I feel like bad for a lot of the Spanish that's in this book. But like, I wanted like a name that sounds like something else, and then, like, as soon as I figured out like Afro Tornado, like, I'm like, oh my god, I'm a genius. This sounds like tornado, and I'm just like, yep, this is it. And I was just like, yeah, it is interesting to think about like the different things that inspire, like when you write a story, because it's just like the whole point of like the essential thing is like that it's this like centered around like a reservoir that like drains, and it's just like that came from like a story that I heard about like this church that came out, and I'm just like, yeah, that was enough to inspire a whole book. It was just like, yeah,
and we even put it right there on the cover art.
Yeah, like I love the idea of just like a drowned city. Like, it's just it's a very epic thing, or just like, yeah, it's all these different things that like you just have to pull from yourself, and then you can make your thing. And then if it's not your thing you want to do, you find other things from.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's sort of like, leads to my next topic of like being unique versus using tropes. Like the different approaches to where, you want to do something that hadn't been done before, wanting to do a new twist on things, but at the same time using like certain things that have been done before. But ultimately, it's all about the execution of these ideas, because tropes exist for a reason. There's like a difference, I feel, between tropes and cliches. Cliches, that's something that's like, oh, you've seen it a million times, it's not interesting. Whereas tropes, that is a narrative tool that works for a reason. Again, like
a trope would be like a 3-act structure where it's just like,
the big bad, the hero, the what do you call it, the big dude with a heart of gold, or the scoundrel with a heart of gold, or the irredeemable bastard, or I mentioned before, the boy and his non-human creature best friend pet thing, which I think was interesting when like I like showed you the story, and you're like, these are like examples of that same thing, where it's just like, I think if I was anybody else, I would have been like, why are you telling me the story that I told you? But it was interesting. Like, my favorite thing you told me was just like, this sounds like the Ultraman story of like the Constellation. Was it Constellation? Oh yeah, it was a constellation. There's this monster brought to life by a group of kids called Gabadon, and so it's this imagination monster that becomes their pet, and Ultraman comes in to fight the monster, only for all the kids to be like, no, don't hurt him, and so Ultraman decides to take him away into the constellations where he can live in peace, and the kids can forever immortalize him through this new constellation that Ultraman created.
Yeah, because my favorite thing was like, it'd be funny, because I don't even know, like, they never do it in Godzilla, and obviously they've done it in Ultraman, I didn't know it, but it'd be like, it'd be funny if like they just show up and they're like, fought this monster, be like, that was my friend. Like, you just killed my friend. Like, I just like that concept of just like, not everything is evil. Like, just because it's a big scary monster doesn't mean it's a big scary monster.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you know, for any there are certain people where they're so obsessed about being completely 100% original, which, let's be honest, nothing is ever 100% original.
No, you have to draw from something.
Yeah, whether it's real life experiences or other inspirations, you know, that you have been exposed to.
But I feel like that's an original thing. Like, there's real life things that I've drawn from and like put it with that, where it's just like, I know there's no Japanese person that's gone through this life experience.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Maybe there are other people maybe there are other people who have lived in Iowa who experienced the same things you have, but because these are more personal to you, it's like that is itself a unique experience that no one can take away from. Otherwise, you know, there are people who try to bend all the tropes, try to do like they try to be Rian Johnsons themselves of, oh, I'm going to do the exact opposite because that's what people are expecting to do, only to have your story
always get shit on.
But you know what I mean? You know, it's like, oh, I want to do the exact opposite just for the sake of doing the opposite. I'm not saying that's what Rian Johnson did. I'm just saying, you know.
What did he say? He's going to like... something your expectations.
What was the word?
Suspect? No, not suspect. Expect.
Expectations. I forgot. It was a term that was like everywhere.
Oh, if Nick was awake, he'd remember. It's like expect. It's
subvert expectations. That's what it was.
Yes. I'm gonna subvert your.
And it's like sometimes you got to lean instead of fighting the tropes. Sometimes you got to lean into the tropes because tropes are ultimately tools. They're not, you know. For some people, again, like I was trying to say earlier, some people are so obsessed with being original that sometimes they try to be
like contrarian
but it may or may there's a chance that might hurt the story. Whereas with tropes, it's like if you lean into the tropes, you know, utilize the strengths of tropes, use them as tools, narrative tools to tell your story, ultimately it'll come out stronger than it could have been without it. You know, mentioning it to Laura, I was like, hey, Laura, don't feel bad that this idea has been done before. You should be, you should be, and you weren't, thankfully. Because I would tell people.
It was interesting to hear them because I'm just like,
It's like, oh yeah, if this, whenever I say, oh, this idea you just told me, I remember seeing this idea in A, B, and C. And if it worked in A, B, and C, it can work for us as well. That's the point.
And that helped me.
Yeah. I see it as a confidence booster. Whenever I come up with an idea for Draco Azul, I go onto TV Tropes and I find out, oh, this stuff also they did the same thing for all these characters here.
It did the thing.
Yeah, it's like it gave a name to that to that thing that I like. It has an explanation for why the thing works as well as it does. And it's like, oh, if all these people go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It kind of reminds me of like the 3-act structure where people are like, I can do anything. It's just like, no, people like the 3-act structure. Like people like the gradual decline and then the decline and then the climax. It's just like,
and then the resolution.
Yeah. It's just like that's what people like. And it's just like, that's what tropes are. People like tropes. Like it's like, it's a gratifying thing. Like, it's like nobody wants to watch a movie and then like the person loses at the end, like for no reason. Like nobody likes those. Like you want to feel gratified. You want to feel that you worked hard, especially when you're reading something. You want to feel like you climbed. You want to feel like you got to the resolution.
Absolutely. You know, some people can subvert expectations very, very well, but it's like sometimes it may be the safe route. But boy, is it the most entertaining route.
Yeah.
So I guess my last question for you is this, and that is, you know, having written your very first, you know, not just your first novel, your first prose project, but just being able to tell a story. You know, you did a thing for the first time. No, you've done plenty of things. This thing, however, is, you know, you're telling your own story, your own characters. you've gone through it all, and it's now out there for the world to see. What has been your biggest takeaway from this experience, and what advice would you give to any other aspiring storytellers out there?
Ooh, that's good. I would say it is interesting because, like, going through this whole process of writing a book and then, like, presenting it, the weirdest thing that I did not expect from all of it was when we got to, like, the formatting part of it. And I absolutely loved formatting this book. And I hope that, like, if anybody gets the actual print book of it, they appreciate the formatting of it. But, like, that was so much fun to do. And then it expired, like, the next book that I want to do, where it's just, like, the next thing I want to do is, like, strictly, like, a book that fully depends on formatting. But it's just, like, I would not have learned that if I had not just decided to throw myself into, like, writing, where it's just like I would be just happy formatting other people's books, where it's just like you just have to do the thing. You have to do the thing to realize that there are other things. And, like, this whole process kind of reminded me of, like, why I really loved cosplay, where it's just like you could just, like, fully dive into, like, different aspects of cosplay, where it's just like it's kind of like the umbrella. And then underneath the umbrella, there's, like, multiple things where it's just like, yeah, I could write a book, or I could format a book, or I could, like, edit the book, or I could do all these other things. Whereas in, like, cosplay, it's just like, I could, like, really like sewing, or I could really like armor construction, or I could really like conceptual design. But, like, the thing that I was, like, really surprised was this, like, I really loved the actual construction of our novel. Like, the thing, like, I love our book, I love all the things I wrote, but, like, the page number things on our book, I'm so proud of. Like, I think they look so good, and I love the chapter headings of our book. And I'm just like I have the physical proof. Like, I have the second, or I guess it would be the first one. Our second one's gonna come soon, but it's just like holding the thing that I formatted and, like, flipping through, it's just, like, the most satisfying thing to be like, oh, I designed how the heading looks. I like the page number, and I like the how you open it up and it does this. And just, like, you don't realize how much of a book is that, and I never knew how accessible a book was when I was just like, oh, it could be like I've read books where it's just like I opened the first book of it, and, like, the first page, and I'm just like, I'm not going to be able to read this. Like, the font's too small, everything's spaced weird. But yeah, so I would just say, if you want to do something, you just got to do it. You just got to dive in and do it, and then maybe within that you'll find that you want to do something else. But one of the like, other than me finding out that I really like to format it, it was very accessible to write a book. Like, I just had to keep doing it. Like, as long as I, like, the thing I had the hardest time is, like, I remember there was, like, a block of time where, like, I hadn't written in a while, and then we had to do the end. That was hard to get back into it. But, like, it's once you just have to write every day. You just have to do the thing. You just have to do the thing, and then the thing will be easier.
Oh yeah. It certainly gets easier with time. The more that the more experience that you've gained, the more you grow as a writer, as a creator, as a storyteller. Sometimes you look back at your older work and you're like, oh wow, I certainly wouldn't have done it like that before. Yeah. Or you would say, oh, I'm happy that I've made the progress that I've made since then. And and it's cool to see that within the span of a single book. And it's God, yeah. And luckily we were able to go back and make the adjustments that we needed to make for those earlier chapters, especially once we had our editors, your husband Nick.
God for Patrick and Matt. Oh my God.
Yeah. Especially Patrick and Matt, who comb through these books with a fine comb. Patrick and Matt, they comb through the book with a fine comb, being able to find whatever inconsistencies or misspellings or grammatical stuff, or even certain things that I still struggle with as a writer.
We both love to use the same word twice.
Yes,
in the
and
same sentence.
it's very it's very distracting as a reader that you may not notice as a writer.
Which was like the best thing that we could hear. We're just like, I use the word grounded twice, and we're like, I wouldn't do that in the same sentence when I'm talking. It's just like, apparently when I type, I did.
Oh yeah, there's got to be some sort of blindness that you're blind to, like how often you're using certain words or certain phrases. And that's definitely the biggest challenge for me as a comic writer who went into prose writing, is just avoiding the repetition of certain phrases and words and certain like tenses and stuff.
Yeah, especially tenses, because I feel like I went like out and in of all, like, I don't even know, you could tell what time anything was happening. We're just like, yeah, this, like,
Oh yeah, it's a challenge. Writing a book is certainly a challenge, but it is possible nonetheless. And I would say that it's certainly easier to get your book done you want to take your time with your book, but you don't want to take too much time, because again, you change and you grow as you tell your story. And so if you take a longer time to write your story, those newer chapters are probably going to be a lot different stylistically from the older chapters, which thankfully we finished this book within like a 5-6 month span of time. Even as, we progressed through through this experience, we were luckily able to make sure that quality was present from beginning to end. And again, really happy that it came out the way that it did. And if we can do this, all on our own, self-publishing this book, this is only the fourth book that I've ever prose book that I've ever written. This is Laura's, very first time. If we can do it, so can you.
Yes, you got to do the thing. You just got to do it.
Do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Yeah, and then just let other people read it, and then just take criticism, because
and learn from that experience.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it is hard when you're like, here's the thing that I really love, and you just like show it to others. But it's just like, what's the point? What's the point of doing something for other people if you don't take other people's criticism for it? Like, I don't know. Just do the thing. Do it.
Just do it. And then, however it comes out in the end, be glad that you made it happen, that you made it happen at all to begin with, And then
learn, and then do it again. Like,
absolutely.
This is not my magnum opus. Like, I'm not done after this, and neither is Andres. Or
absolutely not.
No, I've peaked in life. It's like, oh God. That would be so sad if that was true.
Yep. And that is pretty much what it's like as a creator. It's like, if you enjoyed it and you want to do it again, then hey, on to the next adventure. Yes. So with that said, thank you so much, everybody, for, sitting down, listening to us for the last 2 hours. Just, talking about the stuff that we love, the stuff that inspired us, and, the stuff that we ourselves have made and have put out into the world. So you can certainly find Primal Warrior Draco Azul Death's Gate over on Amazon, on Kindle, and paperback. You can certainly find it, as we've promoted it. We can find it in however format that you'd like. We made it as accessible as possible. And
you should definitely buy the print version.
Absolutely. And if you would like to follow us, you can follow me here on YouTube at Kaiju Noir. You can follow me on Instagram at Kaiju Noir. Follow me on Twitter at PW_Draco Azul. And finally on Facebook at Primal Warrior Draco Azul. And I know that you're not on any social media, but you can certainly, when the time comes when you have more stuff, the next project that you're working on, I'll be sure to let everyone know. And, you can certainly find Laura here from time to time on this YouTube channel.
Hopefully more, because I'm going to harass him into doing more stuff.
Absolutely. It's never the end. It's never over.
It's a song that never ends. That was the other one that I loved. That was my other chapter that I loved.
Yes, I remember that.
Oh, God.
So, until next time, everybody, I have been Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir.
I'm Laura Ficton, aka Laura Ficton.
And until next time, everybody, take care.